YouTube, I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 199. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Polo Reyes versus Dong Hyun Kim. The shittier Dong Hyun Kim, not the good one that's ranked really high. Polo Reyes looks like a good boxer, but that's about it. I know both of his losses are submission losses and all of his wins are knockout wins. Dong Hyun Kim, he looks well-rounded. He doesn't look great anywhere, but he's not bad anywhere. But I do think that he has a huge advantage grappling and wrestling-wise, so I just have to go with the more well-rounded guy in Dong Hyun Kim. I say he wins by second round rear naked choke or something like that. Next is Kevin Casey versus Elvis Mutapchik. And Elvis looked not very good in his debut fight. He fought a guy that I don't think is very good. It was at 205, but still overall, I mean, he just looked like shit in that fight. Kevin Casey, he's kind of up and down. Some fights he looks really good. Some fights he doesn't. But I think he's just looked more consistent as of late than Elvis has. I think he's also a little bit better of a wrestler and overall grappler than Elvis is. So I say Kevin Casey will probably be able to win this fight by decision just with the good wrestling. Next is Johnny Bravo versus Luis Silva. I know the guy's name is not fully Johnny Bravo, but that's his nickname, and that's what I'm going to call him. So they're both really good strikers, but Luis Kane, this is his first time not fighting out of Brazil. This is his first time fighting in the U.S. He's never fought in the UFC yet, and Johnny Bravo has, and I just feel like there's a lot of little factors that I feel like give Johnny Bravo the edge. I think he's a little bit more athletic. But like I said, both 205-pound guys, both solid prospects, but I'm going to go with Johnny Bravo. I just think that he's got a little bit of an edge in every one of those minor things, so I say he wins by decision or late TKO. Next is Shane Strickland versus Tom Breeze, and I've never thought Shane Strickland was that good. I just feel like he kind of has really good cardio and throws a lot of long strikes. So if you have a hard time getting in his range, that's about the biggest problem he gives people, in my opinion. But I feel like people that can kind of get within that range and kind of take him down and beat him up are bad matchups for him. And I feel like that's most of the good guys. And I feel like Tom Breeze, this is really going to show whether he's an elite guy or just not an elite guy. Because I don't think Shane Strickland's an elite guy. I think if Tom Breeze's boxing is really good, then he should be able to get past the long jab. He should be able to hit takedowns and kind of beat him up on the ground whenever he wants. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think Tom Breeze has looked really good recently. I think he's got good striking and grappling. And I think really the only thing that he has to worry about is that reach and not gassing out, because Shane Strickland's not going to gas out. But over than that, Shane Strickland is not very impressive in my opinion, and I think Tom Breeze is. So I say Breeze wins by decision. Next is Cole Miller versus Alex Caceres. It was supposed to be Cole Miller versus BJ Penn. But I think they suspended BJ Penn even though they have no proof that he cheated. People are just saying he did, so I think that's really weird that you can just do that without any real proof. Either way, I think these guys have the exact same style. I just think Cole Miller is just better at everything. They're both striker jiu-jitsu guys, but Alex Caceres has really horrible submission defense, and he's been finished a lot. Cole Miller's only been finished like twice. And I just feel like he's, like I said, just a little bit better at everything, and Alex Caceres just hasn't looked that great recently, so I say Cole Miller wins by either TKO or submission. Next is Jessica Penne versus Jessica Andrade, and I'm going to say Jessica Penne wins this one. I think they're both pretty even. I just think she's a tiny bit better. Next is Beneil Dariush versus James Vick. And I think Beneil Dariush, he's lost his last couple, but I still think he's a pretty solid prospect. As for James Vick, he's never lost, and that's really hard to not look at. But at the same time, in his last fight, he was able to he was taken down repeatedly and just kind of held down for long periods of time. And that's my biggest fear in this fight is I think Beneil Dariush has got the conditioning and the grappling to be able to just take Vic down over and over again, and then just kind of use his good jiu-jitsu to keep him there and just grind out a decision. And as much as I like James Vick, I just feel like he got taken down way too much in his last fight. And Dariush is too good of a jiu-jitsu guy to just let him up really easily, so I think Dariush will win this one by decision. He'll just hit takedowns over and over again and just grind out the decision. Next is Brian Ortega versus Clay Guida, and this is literally do or die time for Clay Guida. If he loses this fight, he's probably done. If he wins, then I'd say he's still got some gas left in the tank. Not a whole lot, but he's still relevant. And he basically, I feel like his striking is all right. It's not the greatest ever, but it's definitely better than Brian Ortega's. He just needs to not grapple with him, and I don't think that's that hard. I think his wrestling is way, way better than Ortega's, and I think he could keep this on the feet. That's really the only thing that I think Guida has to worry about. As long as he doesn't grapple with this dude, I think he'll be able to outstrike him. So I say Guida wins by TKO. The only thing that I'm afraid of is sometimes he likes to force takedowns a lot, and that's how he lost against Thiago Tavares, which is a fight I feel like the only way he loses that fight was if he forced a takedown. That's how he lost. So as long as he doesn't do that, I think he'll win by TKO. Next is Dustin Poirier versus Bobby Green, and these guys are both really good strikers, and Bobby Green's a decent wrestler, but I feel like that's about it. As where Dustin Poirier, he's pretty much good everywhere, and I feel like that's going to be the big difference in this fight is if Dustin Poirier has to strike with him, he will, but if he wants to take it to the ground, if Bobby Green can't stuff the takedowns, then that's pretty much it for him. I don't think he can grapple with Dustin Poirier. So I say Dustin Poirier will probably win by like triangular armbar in one of the scrambles when he does finally get it to the ground. Next is Dan Henderson versus Hector Lombard, and this is probably going to be Dan Henderson's last fight. My biggest fear is Hector Lombard is, no matter how you look at it, I don't think he's ever been dropped, and his last fight was more so he was just tired than he was getting finished. And as much as I want Dan Henderson to win, and I want to pick him so badly, I just feel like he's been getting dropped so badly in his last couple of fights that, I mean, he's probably not going to be able to knock Hector Lombard down or weather the early storm. I mean, that would be amazing if he could, but I just don't see it happening, unfortunately, for Dan Henderson. Because I love Dan Henderson, and I want him to win so badly, but it's just not realistic to think he's going to be able to do what Neil Magny did and just take the beating and get it out to the next round. So I think Hector Lombard's probably going to win by first-round knockout. Next is Max Holloway versus Ricardo Lamas, and Max Holloway's looked better and better every single fight. I think his takedown defense has gotten really good. I think that his jiu-jitsu has also gotten a lot better. I think striking-wise has got a huge advantage. I think the only way Ricardo Lamas could really win this fight is if he uses his wrestling and kind of catches him in a submission. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this fight is going to stay standing, and I think eventually Max Holloway is going to hit him with like a body shot or something and finish him, probably late second, early third. Next is Dominick Cruz versus Uriah Faber, and this fight is basically just kind of to cement, in my opinion, Dominick Cruz's legacy. I felt like Dominick Cruz pretty clearly won the second fight, and Uriah Faber is kind of been looking worse recently. Like, you look at his last, 4 or 5 fights, and the fight against Alex Caceres was not that great. He was having a hard time beating a guy that I don't think is that great. And then he kind of was getting his ass beat by Francisco Rivera until he poked him in the eye and choked him out. He lost to Frankie Edgar, and then he looked decent against Frank Saenz, but Frank Saenz is just a wrestler, and Uriah Faber's not going to lose to an offensive wrestler. I mean, really, unless you have to be like Dominick Cruz. You have to have really good striking and wrestling. So, you know what I mean? I just feel like Dominick Cruz looked amazing against TJ, and Uriah Faber hasn't looked. He's still good, but he just hasn't looked as good as he used to. So I think this fight will be like the second fight, but maybe Cruz might even get a late finish, maybe 4th or 5th. But either way, I just feel like Cruz is closer to his prime than Uriah is. Finally, we have one of the shittiest main events I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, Michael Bisping is the most least deserving motherfucker I've ever seen. I'm sorry if you're a Michael Bisping fan, but he is like so garbage. I feel like the Anderson Silva fight, you know, did he win it? Yeah, probably. But, I mean, holy shit, did he look like crap after that 3rd round. Both guys basically did nothing in the 4th, and then they just gave it to Michael Bisping because it was in England. It was like, that 4th round, in my opinion, was a draw, and then it was 2-2, so I felt like that fight was a draw. We just had that stupid somebody has to win rule in, like, American MMA, which is fucking irritating. But this fight's going to be exactly like the first fight. I mean, does anyone honestly think Michael Bisping's going to do anything different than the first fight? It's going to take Luke Rockhold 1 round to find his range, and then he's going to knock him out in the second. Hooray, Michael Bisping got his title shot that he clearly didn't deserve. It's like, it literally just feels like a fucking waste of time. There's no other way for me to put it. He's going to get knocked out or submitted. Either way, Luke Rockhold's going to win in the second round once he starts to find his range and he lights him up. Anyway, sorry for that, guys, but this main event is just, I wish it wasn't happening because Michael Bisping doesn't deserve this title shot. So, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.